We're being invaded. Our Vermont waterways are being invaded by non-native aquatic nuisances. And each year, more and more of our lakes and rivers are being choked. So how are they able to do this? Easy. We've been giving them a free ride. But now, these hitchhikers will cost you a $150 fine if you transport them. So clean your boat and trailer after you take them out of the water. No more free rides for these nuisances.
In May 1999, the aquatic nuisance species law was decriminalized. It is now a civil penalty for which the law enforcement officer can write a Vermont traffic complaint. This traffic complaint has been assessed at $150, which makes it an easier law for the law enforcement officer to enforce.
Representatives from the Lake Dunmore Fern Lake Association did go up to legislature and work with the legislators to change the law on transportation of the nuisance aquatic species. The primary problem that we had was, being a criminal offense, it was very difficult to get any violators prosecuted. People learned that. They weren't particularly cautious about cleaning boats and trailers. We now hope that, being a civil offense, it will allow law enforcement people to issue tickets and fine people the $150, and it will make more of an impact because we will have an enforceable regulation here that will drive the point home that this is a problem and it's raising havoc with all our lakes and ponds in the area.
We're at the North Hero Marina at the end of Pilots Point Road in North Hero, where I purchased this marina 4 years ago. We decided to replace all of our moorings that used to be chain and buoy with a system of line and aluminum-style tubes. The aluminum-style tubes and lines were touted to be a permanent solution that you can leave in the water 12 months a year, make it very easy as not having to drop the chains and have to find 41 of them each and every spring coming back. Lo and behold, this year when we went to inspect our mooring lines, we found something rather shocking. A lot of the aluminum tubes were sinking, and we couldn't understand why. They were weighted properly the year before, they weren't taking on water. And when we inspected the lines, what we found was that the lines themselves that go from the bottom of the aluminum tube to the bottom of the concrete block that ties it together, this line was filled with zebra mussels. What happens is the zebra mussels attach themselves to this 5/8 inch line and completely coat them to the point that it looks like this, which will cause the aluminum mooring to sink. And if it gets below the surface before we can get it out, it becomes a hazard to boaters. If they run over this thing, it can knock out their prop and disable the boat. So the problem is doubled. It's not only we have to replace the line, but if we don't replace it in time or catch it in time, it becomes a problem for the boaters as well.
Zebra mussels arrived in Lake Champlain in 1993, and as in the other Great Lakes and the inland waters of North America, they've spread very rapidly throughout the entire lake. One of the problems of the spread of zebra mussels outside areas where it's become already established is that the adults, as I said, have to become attached to a hard substrate, and they can become attached unbeknownst to a boat owner to a boat hull or an outdrive or to cracks and crevices around the hull of the boat. And when the boat's pulled out of the water, the zebra mussels go with it. They can live for several days to up to 2 weeks out of water in a moist environment, so when the boat's put into another body of water, the adults may drop off and establish a new population. Equally likely is that the larvae can be transported, and the larvae, the juveniles of the zebra mussel, are microscopic. You cannot see them without the aid of a microscope. And it's very easy if you have a bucket of water on board, for example, water that might be carrying bait in your bait bucket. If that water is taken for Lake Champlain when the villagers, the larvae, are in the water, and then subsequently dumped into another lake after a day of fishing on another lake, those villagers can enter the lake and become established. So it's very easy to transport them to a new area where they're not yet present without even knowing about it. And the problem there is, of course, is that any new inland body of water harbours not only, for example, native mussels that would be protected if zebra mussels weren't there, but also they're also used by recreational users such as beachgoers and fishermen, etc., who will suddenly encounter with the same sort of problems that users of Lake Champlain do. Their feet will get cut, their favorite fishing spots are now fouled by zebra mussels, and all the attendant problems. Despite efforts to try and control the spread by educating the public, already inland lakes in Vermont have been infested with zebra mussels, presumably coming from Lake Champlain by unwary boaters.
We're in Fields Bay. This is the largest northernmost site where water chestnut is infested. It's been here since 1993. We've been harvesting this whole area, which was pretty much solid chestnut. The bay is very shallow, about 4 feet deep, and it's infested out about 4 feet or 400 feet from shore. We've had harvesters in here this summer already and harvested it, but what we have here is regrowth. We harvested August 7th, and the regrowth has come back since then, about a month, and we now have a hand-pulling crew in here from our contracted hand-pulling crew that are pulling the chestnuts that are left. And this is an example of what the chestnut looks like. These are kind of small at this point. Normally they're about twice this size, and they have the rosette. This is called a rosette. There can be from 5 to 10 of these per stem that comes up from one seed, and each one of these rosettes normally will produce during the normal growing season about 10 to 20 seeds. So from one plant you get 10 rosettes, each producing 20 seeds, so that's about 200 new plants the next year you can get. And these seeds will remain viable on the bottom for up to 10 years, but probably 80% of them germinate within the first year. And here you can see the little white flowers that are going to be the seeds. There's about 10 of them on this plant right under the leaves here. And you can also see the floating bladders. They're little air-filled sacs that keep the rosettes floating at the surface of the water. And when these plants are fully mature in an area like this, they grow solidly together and will grow 6 inches up off the water, so it looks like you could actually walk on them.
We're here on Beaver Pond in the town of Proctor, Vermont, and what we have is a situation where a previously unknown population of Eurasian water milfoil has been allowed to proliferate to the point where it is now a complete infestation of this pond. The type of problem posed by this type of infestation is that it not only impedes recreational activities such as boating, swimming, and fishing, but it can also alter fish and plant species habitat. It crowds out native plant species, and it also can change the type of fish that like to live in a pond such as this.
Eurasian milfoil was first found in Lake Dunmore right here at this access area in 1989. The Lake Dunmore Fern Lake Association took aggressive steps to try and control the problem, and today we have 4 people employed who do nothing but pull milfoil, search the lake perimeter for milfoil, and also monitor our access area. We're very concerned that milfoil would still be coming in through boats and trailers that are using the lake and using this access site. We first started monitoring the access area in about 1993, and at that time we were getting 60 to 70 boat and trailers coming in that were in fact carrying milfoil. Since that time, we only have about 3 or 4 now a year that come in. I think our monitoring program has worked quite well, and people are aware that they will be inspected as they come into this area. The problem that we have is that once milfoil is in the lake, as it is here, it will never be eradicated. And we have this aggressive program that will always be in place and will always be expensive to the lake owners, property owners, and the taxpayers of the state of Vermont who help fund this program. We had milfoil found in Fern Lake, which is just about 5 miles south of here, but our aggressive program found the plant, eliminated the plant, and milfoil has not reoccurred in that lake. So a monitoring program can work in preventing milfoil from becoming established, but once it's established, you'll always be fighting it.
The transport law now provides us with an effective tool to reduce the spread of aquatic nuisances.
How's it going today?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. Need to talk to you about some potential problems with your boat and trailer here.
Okay.
Are you aware of Vermont's aquatic nuisance species laws?
Vermont's what?
Aquatic nuisance species laws?
No.
Vermont has a lot of problems with aquatic nuisance species in our lakes and ponds, and I need to talk to you about some potential concerns with your boat here. It's important to really get under the boat and look for any plant material. This is Eurasian water milfoil, and if you were to transport it down the road, it would be a $150 fine.
Our main objective is to educate people and prevent the spread. If a citizen spots a violation, the boat registration and auto and trailer license plate numbers should be recorded. If collecting evidence, keep the sample damp with a wet paper towel and put it in a sealable plastic bag. Remember, an individual does not have the right to prevent lake access at public launches. Ticketing is at the discretion of the law enforcement officer. Officers will be provided with handouts that can be given to the boater. Most are simply unaware of the procedures they should be following. Here are some pointers.
Quite often when the boat's on the trailer, the aquatic plants will be hidden. It's important to examine the trailer closely. It only takes a small fragment of plant to create an infestation. Hydraulic brake lines, leaf springs, and fender brackets hold broken fragments that can fall off in different bodies of water. It's important to examine all the hidden trailer openings for plant material as well. If the boat's been in the water for any extended period of time, it's important to run your hands along the hull below the water line. Juvenile zebra mussels may attach to the hull. It'll feel like sandpaper, but you may not be able to see them. If attached zebra mussels are detected, the boat should be thoroughly washed with hot, high-pressure water and dried in the sun for at least 5 days. It is important to always drain the water from your boat and motor to avoid the spread of zebra mussels and other aquatic nuisance species.
Here's what you'll be looking for. Eurasian water milfoil is a stringy, submerged plant. Look for 4 leaves in a circle around the stem. Each leaf has 12 or more pairs of leaflets. To identify water chestnuts, look for a glossy, green, triangular-shaped plant with a spongy bladder on the leaf stem and sometimes a spiky fruit. Zebra mussels are small, barnacle-like mollusks. They have a distinctive D-shaped shell, often with stripes. A full-grown mussel is usually no more than 1 inch in length. Quagga mussels look similar to zebra mussels, but the shell is slightly rounder and may or may not have distinct stripes. Like the zebra mussel, the quagga mussel will attach to firm surfaces, whereas native freshwater mussels cannot. If you have any doubts about identifying these species, you can contact a biologist in the Vermont Division of Water Quality by calling 802-241-3777. Through outreach and education programs, the public is beginning to understand the negative impact that these aquatic nuisance species have on their enjoyment of Vermont's waterways. The opportunity to give boaters the proper tools and procedures further assures compliance. And the knowledge that we are all accountable by law, now an easily enforceable law, gives the message clout. It's a huge problem. The infestations are growing rapidly, but we have the means to make a big difference. For more information, log on to vermontwaterquality.org.